Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending tonight. Before I call the meeting to order, I'm going to invite Kirk Williams up with Waterhouse Church to lead us in our invocation. Kirk, come on up.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for bringing us together tonight and the opportunity to meet as one. Lord, tonight I ask that you would bring a clarity of mind and a unity of spirit, that we would be focused on that which we are meeting together for, and that you would bring us all together in one accord so that we might work for the betterment of all of Weatherford and those of the greater area. It's in your Son's holy and precious name. Amen.
Thank you for that, sir. Appreciate you being here. It is now 6:01 p.m. and I'm going to call the meeting to order and announce we do have a quorum present tonight, so we'll be able to conduct business. Please do let the record reflect that Councilmember Tiskus was unable to make it. Item 3 on the agenda, pledges of allegiance to the United States and Texas flags, to be led by Councilmember Heidi Wilder. Please rise.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you for that. We'll shift down to item 4 on the agenda, which is items of community interest. Aaron Spicer, welcome.
Mayor and council, we've got a lot going on around town. There's full plates, full calendars, and a few kids getting ready to run their first businesses. It is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Our 911 dispatch team are the calm voices on the other end of the line when things are anything but calm. We're lucky to have 13 of them serving Weatherford 24/7, and they do an incredible job. We'd also like to recognize Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. From reuniting pets with their owners to handling the unexpected, our animal services team does work that's not always easy, but it's always important. We appreciate the care they show to both our residents and the animals. Clear your evening and maybe skip lunch. The Taste of Parker County is back on Tuesday, April 21st at Heritage Park. There will be great food from across the county, all in one place, all for a great cause supporting Weatherford College students. And if you see young entrepreneurs setting up shop across Parker County on Saturday, April 25th, that's by design. Lemonade Day is a free program where participants learn how to start and run their own business, building skills like budgeting, customer service, and goal setting. Stand owners ages 5 to 18 will put their skills to the test, competing for awards like Best Booth, Best Business Plan, and Most Profitable. It's a fun, hands-on way to support the next generation of business leaders and a great reminder of the impact our young business leaders of Weatherford are making in our community. And if your medicine cabinet has turned into a time capsule, this one's for you. Take Back Med Day is April 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the 9th grade center. It's a quick drive-through way to safely dispose of unused medications and sharps without leaving your car. And then Sunset on the Square returns April 26th from 5 to 9 p.m., bringing local chefs, great food, and one-of-a-kind dining experience to York Avenue. It's a chance to gather with neighbors, enjoy an evening on the square, and celebrate the people and places that make Weatherford special. And if you need some more ideas for fun things to do around town, we've got movies in the park on April 17th at Heritage Park featuring Zootopia 2. On April 18th, you can swing by the spring market at the Weatherford Animal Shelter for vendors, treats, and maybe even a new four-legged friend. And then on April 27th, the Weatherford Police Department will host a surviving an active shooter training at the Public Safety Building. For more details on these events and others, you can visit experienceweatherford.com.
All right, Aaron, thank you for that. You're right, lots going on, lots of great things. Council, any items of community interest from you tonight? Mr. Hotop, anything, sir? All right, let's shift down to item 5, which is presentations and proclamations. 5A is a proclamation declaring April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Weatherford. Council, let's go on down. We'd ask Ms. Carol Sutton to join us up at the podium, please. All righty, Carol, thank you and welcome for being here. Come on, stand right here. And Councilmember Luke Williams, where'd you go? Has the proclamation. He's going to present it to you tonight. Luke?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Sutton, thank you for joining us. Proclamation on behalf of Weatherford, Texas. Whereas April is recognized as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness and affirm our shared commitment to preventing sexual violence and supporting survivors. And whereas sexual violence affects individuals and families across all communities, regardless of age, background, or gender, and its impact can be long-lasting and deeply personal. And whereas many survivors experience harm at the hands of someone they knew or know, making it all the more important to foster communities built on trust, respect, and accountability. And whereas it is essential that we create a culture where survivors are believed, supported, and treated with dignity, and where silence and stigma are replaced with understanding and compassion. And whereas education, awareness, and upon open conversation play a vital role in prevention, helping individuals recognize harmful behaviors and empowering communities to respond with care and responsibility. And whereas this year's theme, Act with Courage, Lead with Respect, calls upon each of us to stand against harmful behavior, support those affected, and promote a culture rooted in respect and empathy. And whereas organizations such as Freedom House provide critical services, advocacy, and support to survivors, working to enhance safety and promote healing within our community. Now, therefore, Paul Pascal, Mayor of the City of Weatherford, Texas, on behalf of the City Council and citizens, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Weatherford, and encourage all residents to stand together in support of survivors and in commitment to a safer and more respectful community for all. There you go. There you go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for that, Luke. Appreciate that very much. Item 6 on the agenda is approval of the minutes. 6A is consider approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting held March 24th, 2026. Appears that we have a motion for approval by Mayor Pro Tem Smith on that, and a second provided by Heidi Wilder. Any discussion, corrections, or conversations on the minutes before we call for a vote? Let's vote on them. Please indicate yea or nay on your touch screens. And the minutes pass. We'll shift down to item 7 now on the regular agenda items. 7A is to hold a public hearing and consider adoption of ordinance O2026-09 regarding a request to amend section 5-15-3 short-term rental permit application and section 5-15-4 regulations of Title V Business Regulations MCA-26-0001. Welcome Scott McDonald, Director of Development Services.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. If you recall back when we came through with the STR update, we had a couple of changes that we needed to make, and that's what we're doing this evening. 2 minor changes. One of those is going to be that we are not going to be named as the additional assured, is that we will ultimately be named on the policy. And the second piece is that we'll have a component to where it is that someone can stay longer than 29 days in the same dwelling. So they still, if they're going to utilize it for a short-term rental, that is good up to 29 days. If they choose to use the property for longer than 29 days, they can do that, but they must report accordingly to the comptroller. So both of them are relatively simple changes just to make sure that we're consistent with what we're applying for. We have an option to approve or disapprove those changes, and staff recommends approval.
Staff is recommending approval on the item. We do have a public hearing. Are there any questions before we have our public hearing, Council?
One question, is there a maximum? If I apply with the comptroller for someone to stay over 29 days, is there a maximum?
No. So what we've traditionally known is what we say is a long-term rental. So somebody can have a rental property that might be for 5 years. But if they opt to use it for a short-term rental at any period of time, then it must be registered as a short-term rental with us. And then how they choose to operate the short-term rental is up to them. The difference would be is when they're registered with us as a short-term rental and they're not utilizing it as a short-term rental, then they must report to the comptroller that they have no tax that they've collected.
So take care of your question. I'm
Yes,
glad
sir.
you asked it. Any other questions before we have our public hearing? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We may circle back around if there are more questions. At this time, we'll have a public hearing on item 7A. Anybody would like to speak on this item specifically, now's your opportunity. Public hearing on item 7A is open. All righty, seeing no takers, we will close the public hearing on item 7A. Council, any questions, conversations, or collaboration on the item? I'd be happy to entertain a motion if that's your pleasure.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Motion for approval by Luke Williams, second provided by Mayor Pro Tem Smith. Any questions or anything on the item before we call for a vote? On 7A? Hearing none, let's vote on it. Please indicate yea or nay on your touch screens at this time. And that item passes. We'll shift down to 7B, which is consider adoption of ordinance 2026-10, amending section 6-15-2, offenses of chapter 15, sex offenders of title 6, police regulations of the official city code of the city of Weatherford. Chief of Police Jason Hayes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm here to present for your consideration the adoption of this ordinance. With that said, I do want to address a few additions that have been made since the initial packet had come out. And so just to briefly touch on those, we've added a bit to the ordinance to include a definition as well as some exclusions and some affirmative defenses. So I'll get into that here in just a minute. They're in the packets that are before you that I provided this evening. Additionally, we had one park that was missing on the map, and that has now been added as well. So moving forward, just very quickly, I want to provide you with just a little bit of local data just for reference. We currently have around 60 sex offenders that live within the city limits of Weatherford. 53 of those individuals would qualify for this ordinance as they have victims that are under the age of 17. Of those 53 offenders, 28 of them have victims that are under 14, and 16 of them have victims under the age of 10. So basically what that boils down to is 90% of our registered offenders within the city limits have an offense that involved a minor. A little bit about recidivism on these individuals. 15% are typically arrested within 3 to 5 years of their initial release back into the public. And so, and then 50% of them are released, they are arrested, again, for another offense that may not be related to a sex offense throughout the years being out. Again, basically the main reasons why we're tracking these individuals and how we continue down. Ordinance-wise, the current ordinance was set in 2019, in May of 2019, and it set the original boundary for sex offenders to live no more than 1,000 feet of a child safety zone, which include things like parks, schools, playgrounds, and daycares. The proposed ordinance before you tonight extends that exclusion zone to 2,000 feet from that area. This is a map of the current areas, and what you can see is the yellow areas indicate the child safe zones. The light blue areas indicate the current 1,000-foot restrictions, and then now with that layer on the outside of green shows you where the 2,000-foot layer extends to. One thing about this ordinance is that there is grandfathering clause in it, so those individuals that live within that 1,000-foot radius right now will be allowed to stay. They're not going to move from their homes, but should they move in any moves subsequent from today forward, if this ordinance is accepted, we'll apply that 2,000-foot rule too. So anybody moving in, or if these individuals move from their current residence, they will be subject to the 2,000-foot rule.
Are they required to re-register to check in when their residence change, or is that based on a calendar time period?
Oh, absolutely. If they change their residence, they're required to make that notification. 7 days, if it's our registrant, 7 days prior, or 7 days after they're about to move, they have to make that notification as well. They have to register with the new agency or us again, but they would have to notify us ahead of time, sir, if they want to move within the city.
Very well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, is that the same across the board for anybody that's got that previous conviction? I mean, regardless of age or how long it's been since then, they have to check in or notify us within that time period?
If they qualify as a registrant, they will have to do that, yes, sir. And usually, if they, let's say they move from another city outside of our area, they have to notify them within 7 days, and that agency notifies us that they're intending on moving somewhere in Weatherford. And that is our opportunity to contact them and advise them, hey, you've listed an address that's not going to be acceptable because it's going to fall within our ordinance, and you're not going to be allowed to move here in that area. They'd have to pick a different location to move to.
Great question. Anybody else before he carries on?
Okay. The last thing, Mayor and Council, this part of this provision basically includes we're defining Halloween because we've had these some other cities. We've modeling this after those, and so we defined Halloween as activity that children going door to door to collect candy or other items and celebrate the holiday, typically observed on or about October 31st. Two restrictions that will now involve these particular individuals will involve a lights out restriction where they are prohibited from leaving their exterior lights of their residences on during Halloween, and they're also forbidden from distributing candy or any type of Halloween treat out to children on this day. Okay? And those are the main provisions. And again, I'm pretty sure you're well aware of this, but for us, from a public safety standpoint, obviously this increases distance between these individuals and where our children typically play at and live. It provides further proximity from those individuals, and so less opportunity there. Again, the range is a substantial increase in our range, doubling it basically, and overall, obviously, it demonstrates our commitment to protecting our kids. So if there's any other questions, I will be happy to answer.
Any questions for Chief Hayes on item 7B, council? Staff's recommending approval of the proposed changes.
I would like to discuss, on the list you had for safety zone, I didn't see churches on there. And churches generally are great about having Sunday school, whatever they need, you know, have a lot of children, both on Sunday and other days. Is that something that we've thought about?
Churches can fall under that child exclusive zone, but generally speaking, a lot of times they'll have daycares in them. Okay, so they'll fall under that for the daycare purposes. And there's other exemptions as well that fall under those. And if they meet those, other requirements that they would have to have, having a certain number of children there, certain times, they would have to be able to qualify for that. But we welcome all of those, and any additions made to that would be added to the map. If we have future churches that are built that qualify, we would certainly be adding those and extending those zones around that area as well. The map is continuously updated as those parks and things become available. We just add them to it.
Legal counsel, do you have any input on that?
No, sir. I think Chief covered that pretty well. Most cities don't actually add churches in and of themselves, but they're covered, excuse me, a lot of them that have the daycare facilities are going to be covered anyway by the other definitions.
But they still have to be listed specifically on the map. Is that correct? Or was the map just for our visual review, or is that a defining tool that's used in the interpretation?
We use that as a tool for us to measure those distances with GIS ranges.
So, Mr. Alban, I guess a fair question may be if the council wanted to do an analysis on considering adding churches or churches with day schools or daycares, those would be things that we could do an analysis on to look at a future date.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Churches that also have after-school programs, because there are a lot of churches here that have after-school programs.
Council, is that something y'all like them to do some work on and maybe report back to us on?
Mayor, that'd be great. Can we still consider this adoption this evening and then just an add on to after the fact?
If that is your pleasure, we're more than willing to do that. I'll be happy to accept a motion if there's no more questions or conversations.
I will make a motion to accept this ordinance as presented.
All right, hit that button one more time, Luke. Thank you. Motion made by Councilman Williams. I keep seeing you push forward. Wilder, I'm sorry, it just wasn't registered.
That's okay.
Second provided by Mayor Pro Tem Smith. Any other questions or conversations on the item? Let's vote on item 7B. And Chief Hayes, we appreciate your presentation and all y'all's hard work, sir. Please indicate yea or nay on your touch screens. That item passes. Thank you for all your work on that. Item 7C, councils consider authorizing the city manager to execute change order 1 for a construction contract with Gilco Contracting Incorporated for the Kirkpatrick Drive Phase 2 project in an amount of $237,500 for a total contract amount of $2,248,448. Welcome, Director of Public Works, Matt Lepla.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The change order before you is for Kirkpatrick Drive Phase 2, or the extension of our current Kirkpatrick Drive. Just to go over exactly that location, it is paralleling I-20 between Tin Top and Bethel Road. It kind of sits behind the Academy and Hobby Lobby's retail centers. Council authorized the contract to Gilco Contracting back in February for the construction of Kirkpatrick Extension. After the contract was awarded, Gilco began to field verify quantities. They discovered the excavation of the dirt material was higher than originally bid. After confirming the discrepancy, the contractor agreed to honor the original bid amount for this item at $19 per cubic yard. As you can see, at an increase of 12,500 cubic yards, the additional cost is $237,000. They'll also need an additional 15 days to complete the earthwork. The total project cost with this change order is $2,248,448, still under the original estimated construction cost, and our new contract days for completion will be 285 days. Again, this project is funded under our TERS program. Here's a new snapshot of the construction schedule moving forward. Relatively unchanged from our original expectation to finish in late December with that additional 15 days. This will put the project being completed in January 2027 with 285 days contract. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Leppel on item 7C?
Yeah, I would say I'm certain. Sorry. I'm certain that you've probably already thought of this, but as we talk about getting this cut here, is there any place that we need to fill, or is the trucking just so far out of touch with the way that fuel is right now that it would be less cost advantageous to save the fill for a future project anywhere else?
If I'm hearing you correctly, the additional fill, we had an addendum to the bidding items that we could potentially take the fill material, if it's suitable, to use at our fire station new location.
Sure.
So
But
if
that's
suitable.
quite a distance, though.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And yes, so any additional fill could potentially benefit us in a long run if it's suitable.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Great question. Glad you asked it. Any others? I would add that I'm very glad that this item was identified before the project actually became on ground and in process, where it would have cost drastically more if we had not discovered the engineering overlaps at that oversight at that time. So thank you for that. The eventual cost of the taxpayers could have been a lot more than this if it hadn't been discovered as soon as it was. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Other questions, comments on item 7C? Staff's recommending approval. Happy to entertain a motion if that is your pleasure. Heidi Wilder, thank you for the motion for approval as presented. Luke Williams provided the second. Is there any discussion on 7C before we call for a vote? Hearing none, let's vote on it. Please indicate yea or nay on your touch screens at this time. That item passes. 7C. Council, we'll shift on down to item 8, which is future agenda items. Anybody? Mayor would like a future agenda item for consider revisions on ordinance O2026-10, specifically to section 6-15-2 for possible enhancements on the item that we just looked at here. And if we could do that research and get back within 60 days or 4 meetings, that'd be great. Is that reasonable, Mr. Total?
It is.
All righty. Any other future agenda items?
I do have one, and that is, I was talking to Rob. Rob, maybe you can say this better than I can, but could we review the ordinance that has the 300-foot from alcohol to church ordinance, because twice it has come before us, and we've not addressed that provision or policy that we have in place already. And so could we review that just so that we have a firm understanding that when something is either on a lot that is already there, but they're building new, whether they get grandfathered or if they have to abide by would have to abide by the ordinance that is in place.
So that actually doesn't come from an ordinance, that comes from TABC. And the requirement is 200 foot for churches, it's 200 foot from front door to front door, and schools is 300 foot property line to property line. If I'm reading it correctly, we don't have the ability to enact an additional distance on top of that, do we?
Yeah, I think that's correct. We're
It's-
stuck, we're
it's
stuck
not-
with those requirements.
Yeah, that's not a local thing that,
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, does it address whether a property is already there and they are already grandfathered because they sell alcohol, but they want to build a different building? So they're going to tear down the building that they have and they're going to build a new building, but they're still on the same property and they still are going to do the same thing. Do they have to abide by
you still have to meet those distance requirements for the new structure.
for the new structure?
The distance that's in place is for the existing structure that they have, yeah.
That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Did you get your question answered, or are we still asking for a future agenda?
We're
You're good to
good.
go? All right.
Thank you.
Glad you brought that up. Any other future agenda items, council? All right. Hearing none, let's shift down to item 9, which is citizen comments on non-agenda items. This is a period of time in our meeting where you can comment on any items you'd like that was not covered under our regular agenda item. We did have one speaker card tonight by, I believe it's Clinton Miller. Mr. Miller, come on forward, sir. If you can do me a favor, once you get up and get settled. Thanks for being here. Once you get up and get settled, if we can have your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to make your statement, okay?
Understood, sir.
Sir.
Clint Miller, address 416 Seward Avenue, Weatherford, Texas. I also have Marcia Menin with me. I am the current interim second vice commander at Post 163 here in Parker County. American Legion Post. She is the financial officer. We were coming tonight to announce that we will be throwing a community day event, June 6th? Yes. On June 6th, running from 10 a.m. to roughly 4 or 5 p.m. And we were just wanting to get that out into the community and request support by the city council for this event. Nothing financial or anything, but have the city council support for it.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. If there are any other speakers tonight for our non-agenda items, now's your opportunity to come forward. Non-agenda items. Any speakers? Hi, please come forward. Hi, once you get settled, if we can have your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Catherine Lewis, 612 State Street, Weatherford, Texas. The couple of things I wanted to speak about. It's too late to help me, but having been sexually assaulted in 1988 by a youth minister, please don't necessarily assume churches are completely safe. People are getting hurt, and I tell you what, it still stings from that day till today. And I'm standing here for the victims. They need to have a voice. And even though my voice may not be the greatest, I'm standing here for them because the pain is real. And if the chief wants to know about the incident, I'll tell him. But things have passed, and it's good to see the mayor actually care, because we had city people at the time that didn't care. So I just want to lift my voice up for all the victims, because it's painful. The other thing I would like to speak about, with the cost of living going up, times aren't great, and the mayor and I have talked about affordable housing. Doesn't necessarily mean HUD paperwork. I have some ideas for you, but I'm just hoping we can find ways to help the people who are struggling in this town, because when property taxes are going up, prices are going up, $1,500 a month. People can't afford that anymore. And last but not least, I know we're growing left and right. It just makes me sad to see all these trees just wiped out left and right, especially on Martin Drive where the college took over. I'm just hoping not every farmland, not every patch of tree has to be built on. And maybe we can save some greenery because it makes Weatherford special. I appreciate y'all's hard work. And last but not least, maybe we can find a way to not have so many chicken restaurants in the same square like I'll do at gas stations, because it kind of looks like business might be foul. But anyway, thank God for y'all, and thank y'all for what you do.
Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you so much. Any other citizen comments on non-agenda items? Now's your opportunity. All righty, hearing none, the Weatherford City Council stands adjourned at 6:31 p.m. Thank you all for your service.